We just got to fill out the application. I had to email them at Nationals because for some reason.
All right, thank y'all for coming to our November general monthly meeting. So as we do before every meeting, before we get started with the actual meeting, we'll just have a brief moment of silence so that if anybody want to pray or have a reset, you can do so at this time. All right, thank you for that. All right, so we'll do a brief roll call on the officers we have here at tonight's meeting. So I'll go in order as I see it. Reese Walker, our youth advisor, please raise your hand. Reese, our EXO chair and co-EXO chair. Shante is EXO chair, co-EXO chair. Tiffany. John Cox, our second vice president, education chair. Member at large, Ray Hardman. First vice president, John Runt. And in the back, secretary, Dominique. I don't think I missed anybody or as officers. It's a nice meeting. So just gonna get started with committee reports, and we'll start with our EXO committee. Asking all committee chairs due to time constraints, keep it 5 minutes or less.
Not have to raise my hand.
And look like you're gonna have Tiffany, our co-EXO chair, come up and do EXO.
We're a team.
That's right.
Good evening. So I'll just kind of get into it. Committee report. The meeting took place October 19, 2025, at 6:30. The present members were President Paul, our chair, Shante Stroud, co-chair myself, Donald McCormick, Valerie Rowe, and our note taker, Shaniqua. So our opening, we met and we discussed outreach updates, fundraising strategies, subcommittee duties and responsibilities, and student sign up, partnerships, key dates, deadlines, and then we reviewed the 2026 budget. Old business, we followed up from school events. We had about 100 attendees, participants, eligible participants for our schools, from each school that we went to. Some of the schools that we went to were Brookwood, Gwinnett, Central Gwinnett, and we did get just a little bit over 150 or so students sign up. So hopefully those are starting like turnover. And we can get those guys on to start our local competition. So that was some of the stuff that we talked about in the meeting. Some of our next step is to reach out to the students via email, via text messages, and start to get their participation, get them lined up with mentors, and prepare them for the local competition. That's also some of the stuff that we talked about in the meeting. We did review the subcommittee, their roles. We did get each member that was on the meeting signed up for a subcommittee. So we got most of those filled in. We got a few extra spots, which we'll continue to press those going forward with every meeting. And then new business. We discussed how to align the schedule with the national timeline and the standards for the national competition. So Shante and I were at probably the week prior to our meeting, we did join the call with our national EXO chairs, and they gave us timelines and budgets and all those things that we needed to submit. So we've been working on getting those budgets and timelines together. We did submit a timeline and a budget about a week ago. So, and then the last thing that we kind of talked about on the call was partnerships. We got a few partnerships that we're working on, which was with the YMCA. And was it only the YMCA?
That's one of them. And then, of course, we working with, Top Ladies of Distinction. Did I say right?
Top Ladies of Distinct, excuse me. So we do have a few, those are some of the things that we talked about and discussed on the call, and how we'll be able to partner and get our kids in the best position to prepare them for the local and national competitions.
Any questions?
Any questions, anything?
No.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for your time.
Now we'll hear from Reese Walker, the Youth Council.
All right, good evening, everybody. All right, so we had to cancel our last meeting from last month just because everybody got sick. But one of the big highlights I want to mention is that the youth participated for the month of October, supporting an adult political action committee by having a youth canvassing day in the city of Grayson. That was a really good event that we did. I think the people in the communities liked it to see that the youth was out there reminding people to vote. So I think that kind of rejuvenated some of the older people, like, hey, this is not forgotten. The youth are thinking about this as well. So we definitely plan on participating more in canvassing events going into 2026. So if you do want to sign up your youth, have them join the youth council so we can get them part of that drive as well. The youth are still in discussion about wanting to plan a civic movie night. Just something to get together and then partner and just have a good time because it's youth, they gotta have some fun. And then the youth will also be going to participate in a Black History Month event at McKendree Elementary School. More information to be followed. The next meeting, we're still kind of working out some things, and that's going to be something fun to be part of. Start building that, and hopefully we can do that to other schools as well. And then the youth's next meeting is going to be November 23rd. So we have our meetings every fourth Sunday of each month, starting at 6 p.m. So if you want to be a part of that meeting, reach out to YC Secretary at GwinnetteNAACP.org and then get you signed up. Any questions? All right.
Yeah. And I did want to remind, I don't know if Tiffany said it, but AXO does meet every third Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's a virtual meeting. If you need the link to attend that meeting, just reach out to the secretary at GwinnetteNAACP.org. She can send you that link to the AXO meeting, or if you'd like to be part of the committee, reach out to the secretary. As always, our point of contact for our meetings. So up next, we'll hear from John Cox from the education.
I will try to be brief, but this one's probably pretty long. This is the Education Committee report for October 27th, 2025. Our meeting started at 7:30 p.m. It was virtual. The education meeting was called at 7:30 p.m. by Chair John Cox. The committee opened with a 60-second moment of silence to allow members to center themselves and prepare for the evening's work. A roll call, during which each attendee stated their name and position for the official record. As the meeting was recorded through Otter AI for documentation and meetings. A motion to approve the minutes from September meeting was made by me, Advisor Walker, seconded by Dr. Cheryl, and passed unanimously without opposition. The committee began with old business, focusing on planning for the next town hall. Members discussed the event is expected to take place in February or March, depending on the timing of GCPS work sessions and superintendent selection updates. The chair emphasized that the purpose of the town hall is to provide families with clear, accurate, and detailed information rather than to surprise district leaders. And that questions must be submitted in advance so GCPS leadership, including interim superintendent Dr. Taylor, can provide data-informed and thorough responses. Committee members were reminded to develop thoughtful, relevant questions aligned with the most pressing community concerns, such as the 16 failing schools, as well as issues of literacy, equitable access to after-school supports, and discipline. Following discussion, the committee introduced and unanimously approved a motion to expand the town hall by inviting partners or other organizations to participate. Dr. Shell made the motion, which was seconded by AXO Chair Shante Townsend. Members agreed that inviting partners, including Divine Nine organizations, NCNW, Galeo, AAAF, Black Voters Matter, and other community groups would significantly increase attendance and ensure broader representation across Gwinnett. These groups will be invited to submit questions in advance, which will be curated to avoid repetition and ensure alignment with the goals of the town hall. The committee agreed that all questions from committee members and partner organizations should be submitted by December Education Committee meeting, allowing sufficient time to forward them to Dr. Taylor and see for their response. While the town hall will be live streamed for accessibility, the chair noted that the committee will continue to encourage in-person attendance to increase engagement. The chair then provided an update to GCBS superintendent search. He recounted participation in the stakeholder session conducted by our advisory group, in which he experienced some inappropriate hostility from individuals who were aligned with the current board members previously criticized by the NAACP. Despite the confrontation, he maintained composure and later submitted a formal complaint to Alma, which resulted in a private follow-up meeting attended by both him and branch president Edward Paul. During the second session, the NAACP was able to clearly articulate its concerns and priorities for the superintendent search. Alma expressed appreciation for the depth and clarity of the NAACP's presentation and indicated that the chair may be invited to participate in future superintendent candidate interviews. The chair also updated the committee on his work revising Senate Bill 4 SP4, noting that the bill passed the Senate but failed in the House partly due to concerns about potential misuse of ethics complaint process. He explained that he drafted revisions aimed at preventing school board ethics complaints from being weaponized to force board members recusals or impede governance. He also drafted language related to Open Meetings Act and shared that he and Ed will meet with legislators to refine the language further. Additionally, he discussed the long-term need for an independent citizen-led ethics oversight body to avoid the appearance of or reality of intergovernmental protections within the complaint process. The final major topic of the evening involved volunteer recruitment for education advocacy. The chair explained the steps he takes when managing education-related legal redress cases, including reviewing concerns, educating parents on policy, ensuring proper documentation, and representing parents during meetings involving IEP, BIPs, or other procedures. He invited members who are interested in advocacy to identify their area of focus, such as discipline, special education, literacy, or general parent support, and to email him for training materials. The chair emphasized the importance of building capacity in the committee. So during this portion of the meeting, new member Cassandra Kennedy asked questions about district structures, failing schools, and town hall process. And the chair clarified that although she recently moved to Clinton County, the bylaws require her to transfer to her membership to the Clayton County branch, while still welcoming her to participate until that transition is complete. Summary, the chair concluded by summarizing the key action steps all committee members and invited partner organizations must submit proposed town hall questions by the December meeting. Members interested in training as education advocates should email the chair to begin the learning process, and a link to resources on Gwinnett 16,000 schools will be posted in the group thread. The next education meeting will take place on November 23rd, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. virtually. The chair thanked attendees for their participation, invited remaining questions, and adjourned the meeting with best wishes for all. President Paul asked me to just summarize quickly the revisions to the SB4 that we submitted. And so the important points are superintendent may only be removed for cause or mutual agreement with data and public notice. As failure to perform duties based on measurable decline or poor management as valid cause, requires 60-day public notice and public comment for termination, allows KPI-based probation before removal if public opposes firing, prohibits political block voting, violations of ethical breaches, establishes independent ethics committee with community representation, and ensures transparency, due process, proportional sanctions, and public reporting. Those are the revisions that we made to SB 4 and presented for to legislation. So that's fine. Any questions? No.
All right, so keeping the train rolling, we'll have Dr. Runt present the report from our Freedom Fund.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. This is the report for the Freedom Fund Committee. We met on November 10th at 7:30 p.m. and we had 5 member present. The November meeting was to set the tone for 2026. And we discussed that we'll operate under the umbrella of vision, plan, and execution. Vision, where all the ideas and what we're going to do for the year come through, and then we go to planning, and then we go and execute. So in November and December, we're going to formulate our vision for 2026. So we started that, and I thought the team did a great job on that. For the month of for the month of January and February, we're going to put the ideas together and formulate our plans. And from there, we're executing and adapt each task while planning until we get to the end of these the activities that we're going to undertake. And I'm primarily speaking of the Freedom Fund Banquet right now, but from March on, we'll be focused on fundraising and connecting with the community to ensure that the Freedom Fund Banquet is well marketed, funded, and sponsored. We've discussed, in addition to our 6 standing subcommittees, we're discussing, there were 5 new committees proposed that we'll review and take up to the executive committee. In addition, we set the vision for a new event for the committee, and that is the Unity Breakfast. We discussed 4 churches to contact for that location. We discussed potential menu, decorations, and entertainment. We also emphasized that our events are open to other committees to participate, i.e. education, AXO, and the Youth Council and so forth. Whatever committee that wants to be part of these 2 events, they can come to our meetings, discuss what it is that they want to have be part of that. And then from there, once approved, it's up to them to deliver, the pieces that are needed. If membership needs stuff to be presented and present on the screen, they need to deliver, hey, this is how this is going to happen. And with AXO, this is how this is going to happen and so forth. So because our role is to put on the event. If you want to do a part in it, this is our unit. It is for you to participate, but we want to make sure that everybody understands that we're making the space for you. You're responsible for ensuring that that space is well allocated. We voted in 2 budgets for the Freedom Fund Banquet. We stayed with the cap from last year, which is $25,000. And for the Unity Breakfast, we voted that we will cap it at no more than $8,000. Our action items for next month, we have new descriptions. The descriptions for the new committees, which is assigned to Dina Rodney. Location search for the Unity Breakfast has been assigned to President Paul and myself. Menu creation and pricing for the Unity Breakfast to Darlene Wilkinson. Tablecloth and decoration review, Conte Stroud. And to finalize Freedom Fund Banquet contracts, myself, to ensure that the location is locked in. Next steps, our next meeting is on Monday, December 8th at 7:30. And that is the standing time every second Monday of the month. You can put it on your calendar so that you can partake and join with us. That is my report. Yes.
So I heard something about unity breakfast. Can you explain? what that-
Sure. Excellent question. So Unity Breakfast tends to be an opportunity to bring the community together in a more intimate setting where it could be a church or some location where often it's connected to like spiritual leadership, like some of the pastors or the ministry leaders, but it could be any group. It's simply a time that we can reflect on our journey as African Americans in the community and basically talk about what we got planned next, So, the theme for the year, so the date that we're looking at, so when President Paul and myself, we find location, that would dictate the specific date. So once we get that finalized, and then, but the anticipated date we're looking is around April, somewhere between April, May, depending on what we're able to get. And then from there, the theme, we're gonna start working on that next month and go from there. Any other questions? Yes.
I want to join that committee.
Okay, we could throw you on subcommittee in there. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Good job.
All right. So I'm gonna keep it rolling and I'll read the health committee report. Our chair just walked in. I ain't gonna put him on the spot. So I'll go through it really quickly. So the health committee met on 10/23 at 7:30 p.m. That is chaired by Mel Denise. Just raise your hand in the back. So everybody knows who you are. So the committee pretty much discussed, discussion pretty much started off discussing about the upcoming blood drive, which is a partnership with the Red Cross that we're going to do. So at that time, there was a lot of suggestions made about what churches or schools that we can use to host the blood drive, as well as add additional things to the blood drive like general health screening, testing glucose checks, doing glucose checks, as well as HIV checks at the blood drive. The goal was to follow up with the Red Cross with a location and a date and time, and I'll speak on that in the report. So I had to get on my chair. He attended this meeting. I know I was in the meeting, and I apologize for not having the others listed here that was in the meeting, but we also discussed the upcoming legislative agenda that we're going to submit to our state legislators that serve on the state, in the state legislature that serve on the health committee at the state level. Part of that will be around some of the things that the health committee has been advocating for in terms of improving. So Gwinnett County, unfortunately, is one of the counties that has higher rates in terms of diabetes, hypertension, and maternal mortality rates, especially death rates in the county. So we're leading above the state. So when you compare Black women across the state of Georgia versus Black women specifically in Gwinnett County, Gwinnett is trending higher than the state average in all of these particular categories, not only maternal mortality, but also high diabetes, hypertension, and that's in both men and women. So those were some of the things that we looked at when we met with GNR earlier this year. For those who are not familiar with GNR is, that is our public health facility. It's Gwinnett County, New Rockdale. That's what the GNR stands for. So we met with them earlier this year. They gave us some starting statistics around that. And so we submitted, helped to make a legislative agenda around that. And the breakdown of that agenda, I'll just give the highlights. Some of the proposed policy priorities was expansion of Medicaid eligibility, increased funding for community health workers, greater investment in maternal and reproductive health initiatives. Discussion on the impact of federal budgets on state health programs. Members noted that Georgia has a surplus of $20 billion recommended reallocating funds to support those healthcare initiatives. There were concerns being raised about the elimination of state income tax and what impacts they could have on funding health initiatives. The committee also emphasized wanting to integrate mental health services as well. Follow up with the committee chair after tonight's meeting and try to get those policy and initiatives for mental health added to some of the physical health initiatives that the committee proposed. The motion did pass unanimously to the initiative. Health currently that I over, as well as eventually to get some more ideas about some of this health. The next thing was the committee discussed planning 2 health resource fairs next year, one of them being part of the blood drive. So that pretty much ends the report. So I talk about that. So we do have a location, date, and time for the blood drive, which is scheduled for Saturday, March the 28th at Hopewell Baptist Church. So that's where the blood drive will be. So there's just on the committee to further finish planning out that particular blood drive, and coming up with different initiatives, like I said, trying to get some people that regular health, HIV tests, glucose checks, things like that, to be part of that initiative and partner with some other organizations so they can get it on their calendar. So we can try to drive some traffic for that particular review. That ends the health committee report. I'll pivot over now to political action committee report. Bear with me. The political action committee is chaired by Mr. Ellie Walker. Their last, health committee meets every 4th Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Due to the holiday of Thanksgiving this year, the meeting with this month will be moved to the next Thursday, November the 20th at 7:00. That's for the health committee. Pivoting to the political action committee, they met on Monday, October 20th at 8:30 p.m. That is chaired by Ellie Walker. Those who were present at the meeting was Pat Chair, Ellie Walker, myself, President Paul, Secretary, Dominique McCormick, Pat member, Valerie Rowe, Eric Crosby, Vivian Stevens, Senior Rodney, and Ms. Shirley Renee. The meeting opened, going over the different candidate forms that we had for the month of October, as well as a recap out of the ballot town hall. The meeting also discussed other agenda items like the upcoming municipal races, public service commissioner, the different candidate forms that we had left at that point, which was Grayson and DeCula candidate forms. They also discussed the different canvassing programs that we did and phone banking programs that we did. There also was a review of the Louisiana versus Calais court case, which was presented before the Supreme Court. Those who are not familiar, that's the Supreme Court case. It's still before the Supreme Court. It's for them to decide whether they're going to remove Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. So we did kind of go into detail in the meeting about that particular Voting Rights Act and how it could impact how we vote if that section is removed out of the Voting Rights Act. The committee went over how there was improvement with the signage in Rose Jordan. So for those who are not familiar, Rose Jordan has had a notorious issue with signage. I spoke at the voter registration election meeting in August about it being a problem. It's been a problem for the last 5 or more years in Gwinnett County. So we did go by there. We did check different members of our organization, myself, Ray Harbin, member at large Ray Harbin, Secretary Dominique, when we all drove by to John Cox. That's what we want to remind me, he was out there too, and noted that the signage was greatly improved. So the committee went over that. They also discussed upcoming ballot initiatives, which was East Plus, which did pass. For those who don't know, that they did pass. The State House District 106 had a special election, Public Service Commissioner election. So that was went over, and we encouraged members of the committee to sign up for campus and sign up for phone banking, because it was we typically do volunteer program, but every now and then we got some paid programs, and that was a paid program for those to participate, as well as our electrification of pole barns and program that we had for this fall. The reminders of the committee was to attend any board of registration election meetings, which that's who makes the election rules in Gwinnett County, which they be every third Wednesday at 6 o'clock, right there at the auditorium downstairs. And that ended the PAC meeting. The next meeting was scheduled for, oh, she skipped a month. She got December, but I know she's been November. So the next PAC meeting will be scheduled November 17th at 7:30 p.m. And that ends the Political Action Committee report. Questions? All right, hearing none. I think that pretty much ends our committee report. Did we miss anything
What time did you say the next meeting was?
for the PAC?
Yes,
The 17th,
yes, what time?
8:30. Sorry. Thank you for the correction, Madam Secretary. That's why, that's why you have a good secretary. She gonna keep it straight. So 8:30. Come on in, y'all, come on in. So that is the Political Action Committee report. So can I get a motion from the floor to accept our reports as read, suspend the reading of our finance reports since this is a public meeting? Need a copy of the finance report as a member, please email the secretary. She will verify your membership and get that report from the treasurer to get it to you. So motion from the floor to accept.
I make a motion that we accept all reports as read, excluding the finance report because this is a public meeting.
Second.
All right, motion given by Second Vice President John Cox, seconded by Member Linda Tyler. Discussion. All those in favor of accepting our committee reports as read, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Right. So moving on to old business, we really don't have any old business beyond accepting the minutes from our last general meeting for the month of October. So can I get a motion to accept the minutes from our general meeting from last month? Over. And suspend the reading of those minutes as it is a public meeting. Anybody can make the motion.
I make a motion that we suspend, that we accept the minutes from last month's meeting
Suspend the reading.
and suspend the reading.
Second.
All right, motion given by Second Vice President, second by discussion. All those in favor accepting the minutes from last month's meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it is unanimous. All right, so moving along to new business. So at this time, we're gonna just pause for a moment, and if anybody, before I talk about the election, take any comments from the floor about this past 2025 election. Anybody can just raise their hand. And Ray, you ain't got nothing, John. You got, okay.
First, I think we should make a statement at least to the BOE for registration election that we noticed that they made improvements at the Jordan location, because those were really good. And they should probably scaffold that around the county, but the signs that they had was really, really good, and the illuminated sign was even better, especially for at night. So I think that's something that we should say something about. Also, I think that the areas where we did canvassing, there was an improvement in the number of people that came out, especially when we talk about how small these elections normally are. So, if more people should, ask us to canvass the areas.
All right.
Let me say, let me kind of piggyback on that last comment. It is my experience, particularly if we're wearing the NAACP shirt, and particularly for those who are older, millennials and older, I really appreciate seeing the NAACP in the streets, because there are a lot of our population who are, what's the word people are using? They're checked out.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people who are saying that the protests around everywhere is, that's not for us. Anybody who believes that are sadly mistaken. The NAACP and other activist-oriented groups needs to be in the streets need to be knocking on those, because if the NAACP doesn't do it, nobody's going to be doing it. From the standpoint of politics and the election of officers, here at the Gwinnett African American Caucus, it is good to see that there are lots of African Americans still running for office, but we still need to continue to identify, particularly young people, to run for office, because if we don't run, we may get represented, but if we do run and win, we will get represented. So I'll leave it at that.
Mhm.
Anybody else got anything about the election they want to talk about? Yeah. First, vice president.
Yeah, so it was a different tone from a year ago. I remember having a lot of conversation with people that felt like there was no hope. But as someone who takes time to study history, I knew things would change. And I'll just briefly talk about one situation after Reconstruction. There were 9 justices in the late 1870s and the 1880s. 8 of them would consistently vote against the civil rights cases that would basically allow the troops to be removed from protecting us in the South, the former slaves in the South. And it seemed like a dark day, but one justice dissented. And that dissension was the linchpin that allowed the NAACP to start the work that it started. Because one
As a personal, as an insider, there are some things that need to be addressed as far as the purging system that's set up. There are voters who would show up to vote and they're not in the system, you know, so there's still a lot of glitches. I supervise a couple locations, and there's always that issue where if a person, most of the time, people only vote when it's a big election. So if they're not voting at these little small elections, when they get to the big election, they're not in the system because there's a purging system. I think it's like 5 years or 4 years they purge, you know, so they thinking that everything is okay. And when they come, they're not in the system, you know, so they have to do it all over again. So that's something that, you know, we can promote, you know, make sure that, you know, if you haven't voted within a period of time, go back and double check. There's a sos.ga.gov site that you can go on and you can register, and you can always check to see your status and make sure it's okay. And I can't stress enough, early voting. If you vote early voting, then you can fix situation. But on the day of election, a lot of people just think that, oh, I'll go do it on the day of because I want to give the excitement. And then guess what? That they're not able to vote on the machine. They have to do a paper ballot. You know, so, you know, that's some issues that still need to be addressed.
And they have to cure that ballot.
That's right.
So for those who don't know, she's talking about a provisional ballot for those watching online or in the room that may not know that. In Georgia, if they don't think you on the roll, you have to do a provisional ballot. And as our second vice president stated, you have 3 days to go to the Gwinnett voter registration election building, which we call BDP Baldwin building off of Grayson Highway, to cure that ballot. If you live in Gwinnett County, if you live in a different county, wherever your voter registration election building is, that's where you can go if you're in a different county. Before I guess that's anybody else, any comments on 2025 elections? Before we get my final thoughts. So for me, let me talk about, I guess, the cons first. One thing I've, noticed, from having boots on the ground in all these different municipalities is lack of signage. We talked about that with Rose Jordan, that being a problem, and I do commend the voter registration election for fixing that. I'll make a statement either Ray, Ray can represent our organization, he can make the statement at the next board registration election meeting. I'm commending them for what they did, in terms of improving that. But places like Grayson, where, they didn't even have any type of signage the whole first week of early voting. And by that time, after the first week, when I looked at their numbers, only 20 people voted in a city. And Grayson, Georgia is not a big city, but it still got about 3,500, 4,000 registered voters, roughly. They only had 20 people to vote that first week because of no signage anywhere. And it wasn't until we sent an email to our state conference and our national office and CC'd them as part of the email to the city clerk and city manager saying that this is a problem. Y'all are in violation from the Voting Rights Act and not having a sign. It wasn't until I showed up to the city hall meeting that night, ancestors just worked it out where the city hall meeting, the same night I found out about the signage, and I got a call saying you need to be here as president and say something. And I did, and now I did the signage for them. Still wasn't good enough in my opinion because they only had put it on the electronic sign, and day of election they had vote here signs all over the place. And it's like, well, where were those signs during early voting? So seeing problems like that, areas like was it Tequila that turned the signs around? Why are you turning signs around? If it's early voting, leave the signs where they at the whole time. So even if voting the precinct is closed at City Hall, they'll see it, okay, this is where I go vote, from 9 to 5.
Yeah, so I
That's illegal. It's supposed to be up until 7 p.m. 7 to 7 p. 8
What
to
is this
7
minutes?
It's municipal, so their hours are different. It was 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is, I've never seen the county take down signs during early voting.
Right.
As far as I know, it's always up throughout the entire time. Because again, it's redundant. Why would you pull up all the signs and then go through the process of putting them back down the next morning? Just leave them out there until early voting is over or until voting is over. So saying all that to say, we've seen a lot of weird and sort of strange things to suppress the vote. I know one of the things that, organizationally we need to talk about as a DC and in the PAC is allowing the counties just to run the election. Because I don't think we can trust these municipalities to run these elections. It's kind of been proven now over years with all the weird stuff they do with not wanting people to vote, that the elections need to be ran by the county. I know one of the state representatives was shocked because she just came back to admit that the counties don't run the election because other counties, they don't do that. The voters don't have to vote at City Hall plus vote at their regular county. They just go to their regular county precinct and they vote for municipal and they vote for any statewide or county races. So I think to resolve the issue, the elections need to be taken away from the municipalities. They're proven to be bad actors when it comes to promoting that there's an election to vote for. And they have their 200 or 300 people that they know are going to show up so they can maintain who they want to see in those city council seats. So we definitely need to change that. We need to get people in the pipeline to run. But those who consider running for any position, city council, school board, county commissioner, state reps, state senate, reach out to us. We do got organizations that we partner with that can give you the training you all need in order to know how to run. Because there was another, I would say is a concern, seeing so many new people run, which is good, but you don't have a website. You don't have a way to fundraise. You're not knocking on doors. You don't have a strategy about how to let people know. It's okay, we give you a platform for people to, see you. But again, that platform, anybody can watch our YouTube video. They may not live in your city, your municipality, so you still gonna have to do some work on your own. So they may have seen your face, but it's like, okay, now they need to have a face-to-face conversation with you about why should they support you. And so, we may can give you a platform where you get the visibility, but don't just rely on that to drive votes. Some people may not have watched that. But it is a vehicle to say, hey, you want to learn about me. I was on the NACP, but you can go to YouTube and watch. So I would say, for anybody that's got any aspirations of running for office, reach out to me. I got an email today from an organization. I think, Jill, you got the same email that said, they got trainings. So if anybody that's got any aspirations of running for office, they got training set up next month, to start training. If you got aspiration to run for something in 2026, reach out to us so we can get you plugged in. A lot of these trainings are free. Don't even cost you anything. It's your time. So, those are some of my, I guess, takeaways that we can look at. I see Madam Assistant Treasurer in the back, Darlene has, go ahead.
But who's gonna train the voters? Cause I went, to the to City Hall in Lawrenceville. And, we were on the street with signs the day of the election, November 4th. And, while we were telling people, go vote, and some people turned around and went voting, but I think that's something that was supposed to be done prior to the day of the election.
Correct.
So how do you get people to know that they have to go vote?
It comes to our page.
Well, I think there's a combination of a little bit of everything. I mean, of course, we try to do our part by going into those communities and letting them know where to go vote. The candidates need to be knocking on doors and letting people know to support them.
The candidate forums that we do,
The candidate forums that we do.
civic engagement programs that we do.
Yes, the civic engagement things that
I've
we
seen
do.
all that being done.
So I think it's a full effort, but in my opinion, we'll cut down on some of the confusion because Gwinnett is a tricky place. It's hard to tell people you gotta go vote in the county, and that's take care of Public Service Commission. Oh, and don't forget, you live inside the city limits, you gotta go to City Hall. To me, the easiest fix for that is to just let one place, one central location that handles all the election. And the county has proven to be a better steward of that than these municipalities. I mean, that's just the fact. So I think organizationally, voters, everybody need to be pushing for state senators and state reps in Gwinnett County.
Yes.
Regardless of political affiliation, Democrat or Republican, y'all need to change. Let the county run all of the elections from here on out because the municipalities are not doing a good job advertising the election.
So I agree with all of that. And I believe it should be one spot. But the municipals, they put little to no signage out. They got one sign, and usually it's right at the door. So if you're driving past the place,
Yeah.
you're not gonna see it.
You don't know.
They do nothing to make sure that those signs are visible, right? And then they'll tell you, we're only required to do this, to have the sign in both Spanish and English. And that's it, one sign, Spanish and English. And in one location, they put the handicap sign in a position, if you come from one direction, you don't even see the both sides.
Wow.
So like I said, we understand that to be intentional, but if they're going to remain having their separate elections, then it should at least be required to have those signs span out so that it can be seen if you're coming from any direction to us. Because even at the Lawrenceville City Hall, it's down in the cut. There's signs out in front of the door. So if you want to make a road going past, if those people weren't standing on the corner saying go down there to vote, how would you know? The sign is right in front of the door and the voting place is on the fourth floor. So, there's some intentional things that would have to be addressed to make sure, but to solve it, you can see what the county do. But if they want to retain that, then they need to do much better with signage and advertisement. Especially during early voting, not just wait to put those signs out the day of, but their banners should be out and so forth and so on, so it's clear something's going on at that location. Like you said, when you walked up to Grayson, it was on the door. You had to be up in front of the door to see it, So, and there should be regulation on what size those signs need to be, because you talk about a small sign, I mean, if you're in traffic and traffic's moving good, you're not gonna see that small sign. If it was a big banner, said go here, you would be able to see that, and that's not expensive to do, to put a big banner outside, little banner flags that we put out, you can see them. Then people would say, okay, well, what's that? And then think about, let me look up to see what that is, because I live here, But anyway, that's what I say. Better signs or leave it up.
Jack and then Darlene.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's called spade, it's intentional. because I saw the same thing going on in Norcross and Lilburn. And at Norcross, in a very busy corner, if you're not paying attention, or if you won't see much, they put, the sign has Spanish on one side and English on the side. So if you're turning to go to a city hall, it's behind a big pole. Okay, a big wooden pole. So you can't even see the Spanish version. And there's plenty of space. It's not like it's cluttered.
Right.
And I did speak to them and, you know, and listen, yeah, well, that's what they have and so forth. So when I was going, I would put a protection, election protection. But I believe that this is where we come in to just have conversation with them and basically let them know, you know, we'd like to see better signage because you're walking in there, there's 2 or 3 people, you're in the building, you can barely see a sign. In Lilburn, they actually told me that, oh, the signs had to be 150 feet. I'm like, I didn't want to argue with the lady because she's in charge there, and that wasn't my role, but I'm sitting there like, that's supposed to be for the people running for office, not for the people running the election, you know? But there was 2 signs way out in the corner, you know, and you walk in the building, you couldn't see anything. They only had the provisional ballot box. And then by the time you get there, there's a line, you can't even see the sign that says go. You know,
Right.
so it's just a matter of really just challenging them to do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Dr.
I think despite the signs and all of that, voters' education is very important because 34,000 registered voters and less than 2,000 voters or people voted. So somehow the message is not getting out there. People don't know they're supposed to vote. People don't know where they're supposed to vote. And people who voted at the county level did not even know that they had to go to the city to vote. So there's something that's not being done properly. We need more people to go out there. Even if they go to the one location, but more people to go out there and vote. So somebody needs to be reaching out to people so they know voting is important. Your vote is your power. Your vote is your voice. People can't know what you want if you're not getting out there and let them know what you want. So they need to be educated.
So part of it is management. You know, when I say management, as far as the managers, and as well as the whichever election board is responsible, because your training tells you you have to set up signs, you know, visible to the voters. Okay, so that means either they're not getting the proper training. Number 2, well, 3. Number 2, not enough staff, because you have to have a certain amount of staff to do certain physical aspect of the job, like going at certain points and placing the signs so that the motorists can see either way, whichever way they travel. And also, if there are 2 separate entrances, the managers they must request additional supplies to put at these locations so that the voter can see and know that that's the voting location. So everything has to do with training and accountability of the managers as well. Some of them are too comfortable, you know, and like you're saying, it's so much like a sabotage because the equipments are there. You have to put in the paperwork to request it. You get it and you place it there. That's your job. You know, you're getting paid to do that. So, you know, it is what it is. As far as my managers are concerned, I try to make sure that they do their job. They're getting paid to do their job. You know, they have to do their job regardless. You know, additional supplies, they have to post it. I go around, I check, I make sure. But not everybody does that. You know, I'm one of the area managers, so I do that. You know what I mean? So I want to make sure everyone has that right, you know, to be able to have access. So.
And I agree with that. I do think because the municipalities do things differently than the county, they kind of they just follow the bare minimum of the law, which is why I'm advocating for it to go to you all. Go ahead, Denise.
I just want to piggyback on what everybody said. One, about the training. In your neighborhood where you live, and you have neighbors that you've been talking to for a while now, that's when the training starts, early training. Talking to them, getting involved early before the meeting starts coming up. Constantly, continuity in the service of letting them know what's going on is going to be a big help. So if you're in the neighborhood, if you know what's going on, spread the word in your neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Two, and we know the signage is a sabotage thing because they make some magics. It must be out, it's out. The signage need to be mandatory to be placed somewhere so people can see it. Because if it's not mandatory, they're not going to do anything further than what it says by putting it out. Point blank is out. You can see it, it's on you. If you can't see it, it's on you. Third, what I see, and I've been through a lot of putting signs in places that is already full with other signs. So when you look at it, you really don't get the full effect of the sign. So it's playing 3-card Molly with signs. But it goes back to us being able to go to our neighbors and our neighborhood and our community and constantly talking to them about it so they're aware. You need to have a brick and mortar field training for some people. For others, you can do it online with each other by going to Zoom, going to Google Meet. And if you are approaching your neighbors and everybody's talking to each other, it's easy to set up a meeting virtually than it is physically. A lot of people working 2 and 3 jobs. They don't want to come back out to meet anybody. They will stay at home. They would get on the computer. They would log in because they're at home. When I do my behavioral health training with people all over the place, I found out that 75% of the people that wouldn't come out will sign up online. It may be much easier to get my behavioral health training across to the people that wouldn't come out by advertising and putting a QR code and letting them log in, would make it much easier for everybody. So that's something we can think about as well as far as training. Getting a QR code, giving a time and a date for a virtual meeting for everyone to come on and log on and consistently do that. Not just once or twice, constantly do that. So it's in their face. Thank you.
All right, and we did have some, thank you.
Yeah.
It was a lot of great insight, especially, like I said, and you know, for those who know, we need to let those who don't know. So for those of you who live inside the city limits and you know it's an odd number year, which is typically when your city council and mayoral races happen, you need to let your neighbors and everything know, hey, we got to go to City Hall and vote this year. You know, here's who's on the ballot. Like I said, tell them to follow us on Facebook. You know, share our content on YouTube because we always going to try to continue to do candidate forums. We typically can't cover all, 17 municipalities. We try to cover as many as we can. This is from Ms. Rushing. She said, also, I believe it's important to inquire into equitable voting resources as Grayson only had one outdated voting booth and paper ballots, while other cities use poll pads and paper ballots. So that's something else to look into. Grayson is still kind of using the 1960s method of voting. Again, this is why I advocate for the counties to take it over. So I would just suggest everybody that's watching, go to www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. Figure out what state house and what state senate district you live in. Contact your state house rep, contact your state senate rep, and demand that all voting be done with the county. Put some legislation in place that removes the voting from municipalities and put it in the hands of the counties. My final thoughts, I guess, that ended on everything on the positive. I am proud to see cities like Snellville, for the first time, they have 3.5 Black people on the city council right now. And I'm not saying that one of them is mixed race. I'll get to that in a minute. But I am proud to see that. Congratulations to all those who won, to Rochelle, to Catherine, to CJ, and Snellville. Congratulations to Brian Harris and Morrisville, as well as Randy Travis and all the others that won at city council races throughout the Gwinnett County. I'm just naming some of the ones that we did different candidate forums for, and those people came through our candidate forum. So congratulations to them. One thing I will say when it comes to, as the saying goes, all skin folk and kin folk. And that saying exists for a reason. It was very disappointing to go to City Hall in Snellville and hear a candidate of African-American descent pretty much try to look one of the candidates that won. And then it was masked under God is good, you know, behind everything he said. And God is good, you know, but he ain't gonna be good to you with that, you know, with that attitude. It was very disappointing to hear that gentleman undermine the hard work that this person put in to get on the council after 3 attempts finally winning and glorifying the person that she beat. For those who don't know, just go watch the last city council meeting, and whoever the person you hear saying God is good, that's the hidden dog I'm trying to make holler. So I will say, you know, as I said before, all skin folk and kin folk, we're gonna have to vet people, even if they look like us, and whether they're there for our interests, and try to get people elected in office that not only look like us, but will be there to represent our interests. Right now, Gwinnett, unfortunately, at the municipal level, at the county level, you know, we have people that are elected, but they're not there to really represent our interests. They have their own. And those are the people who need to be mobilizing and organizing to vote out. Especially ones that would be very critical. And to me, take away from a moment where, you know, like I said, Gwinnett, you know, had for the first, Gwinnett, Snellville, I mean, for the first time since its inception, has had that many African-American candidates elected to the council. You know, take away from that moment and bring the focus to, you know, another candidate that lost. I felt like that was distasteful, my opinion, very distasteful. It was a way to acknowledge the person that lost, if that person was your friend, but yet not take that moment from those who bust their butt to get there.
Slavery could have been as good as it wasn't for a black man.
Huh?
Slavery could not have been as good as it wasn't for a black man.
That's true. So that being said, we're gonna move to our next agenda item. And final one, ratifying the legislative agenda. So John's already talked about it before. I talked about the health. The final one is the Open Meetings Act, and I'm gonna be quick with this because we do have a special guest tonight. So for those who know or don't know, Superintendent Watts was removed earlier this year, cost the school district $750,000. A lot of voters were mad behind the removal because it was done in a way that was not publicly transparent. In my opinion, the superintendent search is dragging out far too long to try to look transparent when, you know, the board didn't want to look transparent when they, you know, decided to chuck away $750,000 at a time where the federal government is cutting back funding for education. So saying all that to say, we sent a policy recommendation to be added to the Open Meetings Act to prevent something like this from not only happening at the school district level, but at the city council level, at the county commissioners level. And part of that was, and I'll just jump straight to it. Just read off of this. So it says the Georgia Open Meetings Act is designed to guarantee that public policy is conducted in public. However, a significant loophole allows governing bodies to remove key executive leaders, such as superintendents, county admins, city managers, through closed door sessions, citing personnel matters as an exemption. This practice undermines public trust, denies community input, and conceals decisions that affect entire school systems, counties, and cities. To restore transparency and uphold democratic accountability, the legislature should amend the Open Meetings Act to require public notice, open deliberation, community input before any governing body removes its chief executive officer. So basically what we're saying is, for those who don't know the structure of the school system or the structure of even the county, your superintendent serves as the CEO of the school. That's who runs the day-to-day. The board operates. So if you want to use an example, Superintendent is almost like the president. The board operates like Congress. They pass laws for the school district. They control the purse. They control the money, how the money is flowing. County similar dynamic. County admin in Gwinnett County, which is Glenn Stevens. He's the CEO. He runs the day-to-day operation. The Board of Commissioners control the money. They make the policies for the county. If you live in the city, which we did a civic education forum on city government earlier this year with Phyllis Richardson. Majority of cities in Gwinnett County are city manager-led cities, or what do we call, which that governmental structure means city council, once again, makes the laws, control the money sometimes, and the mayor pretty much almost operates, and in most cases, as an extension of the council. Sometimes they vote alongside with the council. Other times they just there to break ties. But the city manager runs the day-to-day. That's the CEO. He or she is the point person that runs the pretty much CEO of that particular city. So what we're asking for is a carve-out clause, which we're calling executive removal transparency clause. And I'll just briefly read that clause. It says, notwithstanding any provision of this code permitting executive sessions for personnel matters, any decision to terminate, suspend, demote, or otherwise remove an individual serving in the capacity of a chief executive officer of a public governing entity, including but not limited to the school superintendent, city manager, or county admin, shall be placed on a publicly posted agenda no less than 7 days to the meeting at which such will be considered, be deliberated and voted on in open session, with each member vote entered into the official minutes and be preceded by a period for public comment to allow the community input before final action is taken. So basically what we're asking for is, if the county commissioner is saying we're going to spend $2 million to get rid of your county admin, public need to know why you're getting rid of $2 million to terminate him, especially if it's for no cause. Same way with the superintendent, same way with the city manager, because these are big contracts in most cases that we're on the hook for as taxpayers when these things happen. So we feel like there should be some transparency when it happens, or why you're doing it, especially when you're doing it. It is not for any type of failure to perform or some type of legal matter, which all those things have to be made public if that's the case. But just doing it because it's some personal issue, you just got the votes on the school board, or votes on the city council, or votes on the county commission to do it. We feel like that doesn't make any sense, especially when y'all ain't paying the bill. As taxpayers, we paying the bill. So that's been submitted to the state, our different state legislators, and we're waiting to hear back and have them put that in play at the next legislative session come January. So I'm done with going over any questions.
I just want to add, it's not just that you're talking about the salary or the individual person. You're talking about the long-term strategies that have been put in place by that individual. And then you have to now review the long-term strategy, because you have to have somebody else come in. We committed dollars to training, to equipment, to resources for a particular long-term strategy. And when you remove that person, the new person comes with their own strategy, and now you have to provide resources for those changes, and people have to be retrained and so forth and so on. If you do that over and over again, then you cause instability. So there's more than just removal of a single person. It's stability, it's managing resources properly, and there's already something in there that says anything that affects the long-term strategy is supposed to be made available to the public, and the public has to have a say. So you do a survey, either you have a public meeting, but people are supposed to be able to put their input into anything that has a long-term strategy. Because it's their tax dollars that are going to these long-term strategies. And we're not talking about little money, we're talking about big money in certain sense.
If we go further than the money, it goes to not getting to the fall we need to be, because we have to start over again.
Right.
So it goes further than the money. It goes to the people that they are supposed to be educating don't get educated appropriately because I'm going to start over again. And somebody doesn't like this in place, they have their own agenda. They do, in there, you do saying, now you have to double it back 3 times. So you never get to the point of educating or doing the right thing because you're always missing the block. You know, it's a bigger problem than money. It's a problem of our children and our youth not getting the right resources because of that pulling away somebody because of personal feelings.
And to add to that, just to add to that, when you do it in such a way that the check and balance, you remove one side of that, so all the power, so some over here, now you're controlling the budget, and then there's no check to make sure that your budget is in line with state law, policy, so forth and so on, and that it's going to be effective, the budget that you create for whoever comes in and is going to be the next leader. You've already spent that money and said what your targets are going to be. And right now, this will be the second year that they'll be doing a budget without a superintendent in place. That doesn't look like, that looks like you want to be in control and you don't want anybody to check you. One of those check you situations, you know? So anyway, yeah, we need to make sure that the legislation is not a may sort of situation, but a shall situation, and require certain things to be in place, and no allowing people to be fired for no cause. How do you fire somebody for no reason? That's basically what you're saying. There's no reason. I just don't like it. That makes no sense. There should always be a cause for the firing. If there's a mutual mind sort of situation where we can't work together, we just can't come together, we can't work together, then there's a clause for that, where you can say, okay, what's a mutual disagreement, you need to separate, and then you decide on how much of that contract you're going to be paying when you separate. You know, sometimes you decide to get rid of me just because you don't like me, and I've made a commitment to this community, I moved my family from such and such and such, and I made a commitment, then you need to pay me my full contract and let me go. Right? And if you're going to do that, you should be able to explain to the people why that is.
Yep.
What key performance indicators didn't fail at. You can't fire somebody and then continue using his programs and blueprints and celebrating the wins off of his blueprint. If you didn't like him, why are you still following his program? That makes no sense either. So, power for power's sake, and especially when the districts that you represent have all the family schools in them. The only family schools are in your district, and you decided he's the problem. But you create policy and you have resources, you fund where the resources go. So if your schools are neglected and they don't have the resources, that's you. He doesn't do that. So none of that makes sense. And so we have to get rid of the loopholes that allow people to manipulate the system and do what they want to do. And it's unfortunate that it's not a retroactive thing. It's something where you have to say, okay, we found this now, we just have to fix the legislation so it can't be done again. But definitely we need to make sure that that can't happen again. And the language needs to be not may, but shall, because may is subject to interpretation. And that's where things get messed up. You get people saying, oh, I like that person, I don't want to do this to this person, I don't want to, you know. It should be shall, so it's not ambiguous, it's not your personal preference. It's if this happens, then this is the result of that.
All right, so any other questions about that? So all the legislation has been submitted, I think, except for the health one, and I'm gonna try to get that done tomorrow. So just kind of get a motion to accept some of the legislation that we put in play, on the Opens Media Acts, SB4, everything I went over tonight, the health committee legislation. Anybody can make the motion to accept ratification of that legislation. Anybody?
Well, I wrote one, I don't.
Sunday, anybody that make the motion?
Was it just, I make the motion to accept the legislations
That we submitted.
that we submitted?
All right, motion given by. Can I get a second? Second, any discussion? Any
discussion about the legislation.
All right, all those in favor of accepting the legislation as read tonight, say aye. Any opposed? All right, so let's have it. So that's been accepted in the book. So at this time, I'm gonna turn it over to our special guest from Big Brother and Big Sister, and I'll let them come up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all so much for allowing us to come here tonight and be a part of your meeting. And Shantae, thank you for introducing us to President Paul. And President Paul, thank you for including us in your agenda today. I know there was a lot of topics to discuss, and we're honored to be here to be featured in this today. My name is David Stokes. I'm the Vice President of Philanthropy at Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Metro Atlanta. And I am joined here today by my esteemed colleague, Lauren Peacock, who is not only a star of our team, but she is a star of our presentation here tonight. And she serves as our brand ambassador for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Metro Atlanta. And we're here today for just really two goals. We would like to share with you a little bit more about our mission and personally invite each of you to consider being a part of it if you're so inspired. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren, who will kick us off.
And excuse my voice, my allergies are losing to this weather lately. But yes, as he said, we're out here to activate volunteering and mentorship. So who has the clicker? Yes. So our mission is to create and support mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. So with that, we pair adults, positive adult role models with the youth who have reached out and said, hey, I want to see something different within my everyday dynamic. You know, a lot of us were raised with families that never went to college, that have always been stuck in certain systems, and that's all that they're limited to seeing. So we like to match them with someone that shows them that there are other possibilities out there. Okay, next slide. Let's see. So what does mentorship mean to you? Has anyone ever been a mentor or had a mentor before? Yeah, all right. So what does that mean to you?
Well, I'm still mentoring people right now today.
Okay,
The guys in the direction that can be positive for the future, to help them get over the hump that they have, or get through any kind of problem they have, thinking with the open mind.
absolutely. And I saw some other hands as well. Yes.
Mentoring for me is about exposing, first of all, making a contact, making sure we speak the same language. Those initially spend time sharing books, movies, things like that, so that we have a language now that we can use to talk about things that are maybe even hard topics to discuss. So whenever you want to talk about something like honor and things like that, watch a film first, talk about it, and then try to engage and pull out some things about what honor means and how we conduct ourselves and report ourselves and so forth and so on. And that's exposure.
Yeah.
Take them out of their environment, show them things that they might not be used to. A little fly fishing, some camping, something that they're not used to. Maybe a trip to a civil rights museum, have that conversation about that. Maybe go to an event or so, football, sports, or something like that. Just giving them an opportunity to breathe, take a break from what's wrong, and it likes to expose them to the possibilities. And while doing that, talk about how to make sure those things can be in your future if this is what you want. So use that to say, this is why you do these things. So you can have the options that you're seeing here by engaging in a certain way. And also, for young men, which I like to do, it's about finding what your principles are going to be that guide your life, setting your foundation, and then living by that. Saying, these are my rules that I use to circumscribe my actions.
Yeah. Absolutely, you killed that. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna bring in all our presentations.
Okay, well.
Nah, you stole my answer.
Yes, that was amazing. I can't- That is what mentorship is, absolutely.
And this also the aspect of giving hope
Yes.
to, those kids, if you don't have parents who really step in to help you or to lead you. So we're here for you. So it gives them hope that they're not the problem. So other people care. So it shows care. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
It's just pretty much someone who's there to motivate you, to support you. Whenever you need someone to talk to, that person is really there to guide you and expose you to a lot of, new adventures, new experience, career goals, different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, y'all have given us incredible examples of what mentoring is and the difference it can make. So thank you all so much for sharing. And if you haven't felt like you've been a mentor, you're unsure of what it means to be a mentor, I'd like to invite you just to pause for a moment and think of the people who made a difference in your life, that made an impact. Maybe they were a formal mentor, or maybe they weren't a formal mentor, but there were certain ways they showed up for you that made them effective and making an impact on you. There were certain actions that they took that made them effective in making a difference in your lives. And those are the types of people that we are looking for to serve as big brothers and big sisters in our program. And we've kind of outlined those here for you. It's really being a defender of potential. And what that means is seeing a young person and believing in them in a way that's probably even bigger than the way they believe in themselves. It's also showing them that they are capable of creating a bigger and brighter future, even beyond what they may be currently imagining for themselves. It's also being somebody they can trust, that they can rely on, that they can count on. It's also somebody who can lead by example. And it doesn't mean you have to be a perfect person. It means that you can help them make good decisions. And also you can show them how to navigate the highs and lows that life throws at us at all times. It also is being a supporter of possibilities. And like you both so eloquently put, it's really opening eyes, opening minds, and opening hearts to new ideas, to new experiences, to show these young people there's so much more to the world that's out there than what they may be seeing immediately around them. And finally, it's somebody that they can talk to. I mean, somebody who will listen, somebody who will be empathetic, just again, showing up for them. That's what it means to be a big brother or big sister and a mentor in our program. And I know we just now met tonight, but I got a feeling all of you possess all of these characteristics and have the capability of becoming a big brother and big sister in our program. And in becoming a big brother and big sister, there are certain things that we're not asking you to do. I mean, we want you to be a mentor, but we are not asking you to be a substitute parent. When we work on creating these relationships between a big and a little, we really involve the parent and guardian in that process. So you're really a partner to them versus a co-parent. You're also not a disciplinarian. That's the parent's job, grandparent's job, the guardian's job, and maybe to a lesser extent, some of the leadership at their school that they go to. That's more their job. As not being a tutor, so you don't have to be an expert at every single thing that they're studying in school. And if you're like me, I'm thankful I don't have to worry about new math.
I do.
My 12-year-old nephew is going through new math, and I hear the horror stories. My sister, who is struggling trying to help him and educate him. So that should not be a barrier or concern at all. And it's not asking to be a contributor to the finances of the household, nor is it asking you to invest a lot into the experiences that you would be providing to your little. And it's also not being a counselor. Obviously, we would love for you to share the wisdom of your experience, but a counselor requires so much training and so much education. So we're not expecting you to sit there and help them figure out their problems. Next slide, please. So as you consider being a big, and if it's something you might be interested in, we have a few basic requirements to get you started in this process. So we ask that you would be able to meet with your little at least 2 times a month. You would work with the little and the parent to figure out what that time would be. Could be most of the time it's on the weekends, but sometimes it can be in the evenings after school, whatever is best for both of your schedules. And it can be an hour at a time. It could be a few hours at a time. We would like to have our bigs make an initial commitment to have this relationship for a year. We'll offer a lot of support, make sure that it's a good match and everybody's getting along well together. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like in a minute. But we really want at least a year commitment just to see if this relationship could grow. And in addition to that, by extension, we would love for you to stay where you are for at least a year. If you're planning on moving in the next 6 months, maybe if you want to become a big, maybe hold off until you're settled into your new location, because we strategically and deliberately match bigs and littles within their local community. It's within a 15-mile radius of where you are, because you all know Atlanta traffic, and you may have the best intentions in the whole world, but if you have to drive down to Lovejoy to meet your little, you may stick with it for a few months, but after a while, you'll be like, okay, let's just meet over to Zoom instead. And finally, we ask of our bigs to create a space for one-on-one time with their little, especially within the first 6 months of the relationship, so you can really start building that bond. After the first 6 months, you can then engage your family and friends to be a part of those activities with your little. A few basic requirements too, on top of that, in order to become a big in our program, you have to be at least 18 years or older, have reliable transportation, because it's really onto the big to meet the little wherever they are. As I mentioned, you have to plan to live in your area for a year. And finally, you have to consent to a background check, and that's really just to ensure the safety of the children that we serve. And then down here at the bottom, this just gives you an idea of our geographic reach. We are, of course, right here in Gwinnett County, but we serve most of the counties within the greater metro Atlanta area. And we also serve Columbus, Georgia, and the surrounding areas as well.
All right, and then these are some steps to become a big. Attend orientation is the first one, and surprise, that is what this is. Quick and easy. Then after this, you'll submit an application, you'll complete your background check, because again, you are working one-on-one with people's children. We want to make sure that they're safe. You'll do an interview. The interview is us getting to know you, your likes, your dislikes, any skills that you have. We also interview the little to see what they like, what they dislike, and then we match that way. So as you mentioned, taking them fishing, camping, if we get a little that's like, I love outdoors, I never get to do that, we would say, hey, we have someone for you. So we match based off of interest to really lock that interaction in. And then we match you with your little after that. So with that, we'll have you come to our office. You'll do like a meet and greet, some activities, see how you interact with each other, and then you build your friendship. If you're like, absolutely, I love him or her, we're like, let's do this, you're matched. If you're like, I'm a little uneasy, then we'll meet with you, see what your concerns are. And then if they're valid and we're like, you sure you can't work through this? Then we'll work on getting you another match. Next slide. So from this, we do have close to 300 littles on our waiting list all across Metro Atlanta and our surrounding counties. But specifically in Gwinnett, we have 22 littles. They are all boys, ages 8 to 14. And then just so we have some insight on what that looks like, it is all African American youth.
So as we had a moment to reflect on the mentors that made a difference in your life, I think all of us have had those moments too, where we go, dang, I really wish I had somebody who taught me this or showed me how to do this, or somebody who could have guided me through this experience. And I know that each of you could be that person for one of the young people here in Gwinnett County who are just waiting for somebody like you to help show them the way. And once you get started on your journey, we will support you through it. After your initial match meeting, you're not going to be left to your own devices to help figure it out together and navigate the experience together. You will have a match specialist that will call and check on you regularly, make sure things are going well. There will be a regular constant presence within that first year. And then after that first year, they will check in with you monthly. So they will give you guidance. So if there's a situation that you're not sure how to navigate, they will help coach you through that experience. If you are having a hard time connecting to your little or relating to a little, they will give you tips on how to go about that. They will also guide you and navigate you through the experience. One thing that our agency does is we also curate activities for bigs and littles to do together. So they can guide you to come up with ideas and activities and also share with you the experiences that we're creating for you. And they will also listen to you throughout your whole experience. So again, if you are needing some support, needing some guidance, they're here to listen and to support. Next slide, please, ma'am.
And it takes little to be big. So Scan to Defend, this is if you are interested in becoming a big. As I said, you've already passed orientation. So the next one, you will get an email. I'll reach out to our team and let them know orientation was completed. They'll send you over an email with an application to get started. But there are other ways to defend potential. If you're like, hey, I'm not ready to be a mentor right now, I have a lot going on. You can donate or fund a match, or you can connect your company, your job, your community with me, the brand ambassador. As the brand ambassador, I go out to speaking engagements. I'll come out, do lunch and learns. If you have events coming up, I'll come out and table, I'll speak. I'm your girl to spread the word. So you can definitely help our mission by reaching out to me and connecting me. You can also sponsor a special event. We have golf tournaments. We just did a legacy luncheon where we celebrated our top mentees and our matches that are graduating and excelling in our programs. And then you can also refer a friend. If you're like, no, I don't have time, but my son needs something to do. He's doing amazing. Or my daughter, you can recommend them. Again, reach out to me. My information is listed right here, and I will get them started on their journey.
And the littles that we serve, I mean, the opportunities through Big Brothers and Big Sisters make a really meaningful difference in their lives. From our at work last year in 2024, 98% of the kids in our programs graduated high school on time. That same percentage avoided any kind of issues with the juvenile justice system. 88% reported a decrease in their depressive symptoms. And finally, 94% of them had a plan for what they want to do after they graduate high school. So if you would like to be a part of those outcomes, we will welcome you. So any way that might look like for you, be it serving as a big, getting your company, your church, or your community involved with our mission, we would love to partner with you and make a difference in the lives of the kids at Gwinnett.
Yes, and then once again, shout out to Ms. Stroud here because
Yeah.
she did that. She connected me with her community, and that is why we are here.
Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Do you have all the, like, 22 people come together once a month, do things together? Or they just waiting for somebody to come in to be a part of it?
On the waiting list,
Yes.
So- my position was created towards the end of March. And then that is a program that I'm working on to start having activities in 2026 for the children on the waiting list so they don't be forgotten about.
Yes, sir. And in the interim, our enrollment team reaches out to them periodically. We do invite them to our larger events that where we serve bigs and littles. We have a back to school event that we have in July, where kids can get backpacks to get them ready for the school year full of school supplies. There's also different resources available. So that's another event that we try to include them on so they don't feel like they're left out.
The reason I ask that is, I do for adults, groups for adults all around Georgia. And once a month I have, family reach out for adults
big, potential little, and the parent involved with that.
That was part one of my question as well, but how long, assuming the, particularly like the 14-year-old, how long do they stay in the system not attached to someone? In other words, is there like, well, this is not working, or what's the end game for the non-selecting?
I want to make sure I understand this question. You're saying, are they?
You got
matched?
22 now.
Right.
Let's say, 11 of them never get matched with anybody.
Oh, they age out?
Yeah, they just age out.
Yeah. So that does happen. It can be anywhere from a year or two. The parents can withdraw them. They may join another program or they age out. I know we stopped matching at the age of 16, but if they're matched at 16, then that still goes, like based on their mentorship and what that looks like until after they graduate. We have some relationships that have gone on for at least 30 to 40 years. But with that, we launched a program called Waitlist Wednesday. So we're highlighting the children that have been on the waiting list the longest to really push that out there and get them matched.
Good.
Question.
Yes.
So for organizations like ours that do, a number of different things, and you have a youth group and so forth, and so on, is there a way where we partner and do some things, or at least make some of our activities open to your people on the waiting list to kind of join us for something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir, we can absolutely work with you on coming up with a plan that would be mutually beneficial to the activity you may have in mind and also for those kids on the wait list. Absolutely.
So maybe I know you mean.
I was gonna do that after, I was just waiting for them to finish up.
Yes, ma'am.
What about if the children don't speak English? So do you have bilingual or multilingual people to communicate with?
Yes, on our staff, we do have bilingual specialists who are fluent in Spanish. So we can serve those kids who are, or Spanish is their first language, and they'll also communicate with a parent or guardian whose the first language is Spanish. And then we would then be very deliberate and intentional about matching them with somebody who would be able to effectively communicate with them.
What about other languages? Is that only Spanish that you have, or?
So I'm not sure in terms of, well, we could definitely, work through that. On our team, I don't know beyond Spanish what other languages they may be proficient in. But if we can find a potential big who could effectively communicate in whatever the native language of native language is of the big or the little, we could definitely facilitate that. In fact, that would probably be a major criteria of making that match happen in the first place. Well, again, thank you all so much for your time. It's a deep honor to be here with you all. And I know we're getting a little bit late here and folks are probably ready to go to bed. So thank you so much for your time and your questions. And we hope to see you at some of our programs in the near future.
Yeah.
All right, so, next general meeting, we bring our current November meeting to a close, will be on December the 11th at 7:00 p.m. right back here at the Gwinnett Justice and Administration Building on Langley Drive. We'll pretty much do a closeout to the year, talk about, some things, the upcoming initiatives and things like that, organization that we're doing for 2026. Do want to acknowledge another state officer. I don't know what happened to our first vice president, state treasurer, he disappeared. But we do have Michael Hill, who was our state economic chair. So just want to acknowledge him and thank him for stopping by since he is a member of our organization. Thank you all again for coming out and meeting Suzanne. We'll see you all at 7 p.m. at GJ at our next meeting for December, right back here at 7:00. Y'all have a good night. All right.